Alright, welcome back to my channel YouTube. Today we're going to be installing an EK Waterblock onto an RX-480. This is the Vision Tech Polaris Edition. Not that it really matters. I mean, this should more or less be about the same for any reference card. It's dusty already. 2 months old, it's dusty. So let's get right to it. All this stuff up. I've done this once before. That was a task in itself to get that done. Things did not line up the way they were supposed to in certain instances, and it didn't help that for my backplate I accidentally threw the screws away that were inside the false bottom because I didn't know. Alright, which one of these do I actually need? That's the 4. 2x4. Alright, I'm not going to need most of these, but I need a couple of these diagrams, so I'm going to hold those to the side, but shouldn't need them much. Actually, yeah. Alright, so these I am going to need. These are the thermal pads. Tell how much of this you can see. Alright, so I got the thermal pads here. Get rid of that. Got the block. The bag. I've already opened this. I did an unboxing video earlier today on this. If you'd like to see that, I'll put that in the show notes or some kind of a pop-up dialogue or something or some such. Now, alright, now that we have that out the way and there's not this big box all in the way, first thing I want to point out, if you get these and you get this specific one from EK, and check these and make sure they're not bent, because out of the 2 that I've bought from EK, both of them were bent. This one not so bad, but the other one was pretty bent. I had to get a pair of pliers to fix one of these that was bent like way off to the side. This one, it was actually bent right here. It was actually bent that way. This whole part right here was bent that way. I actually just straightened it out with my hand, but we'll see if all the holes line up correctly. These have to be like pretty exact. I had issues with that with the last card I put a water block on. But we're going to set that to the side. We don't need that just yet. Move this to the side. Alright, what we got to do is disconnect all of these screws so we can get this off of it. First thing we have to do, actually the first thing we need to do is organize some of these screw bits that we need. Cool, more Ecotherm for me to put in a box somewhere. I got a bunch of these now. I'm going to be using this MX4. Love that stuff. Another big Allen wrench. They love giving you these ginormous ones. Another 2 more plugs that I don't need. Just bought a bunch of these plugs just separate to have extra for a couple extra things. So grab yourself 8 of the smallest screws. So this packaging comes with they're all 2.5 millimeter, but 2.5 times 4. So 4, I think that's the 6, and this is the 8. So by 4 by 6 by 8. So leave those off to the side. You don't need those. So grab the 4s, and you need 8 of those. The one other screw that you're going to need is these two Phillips right here. You're going to need those for the I/O bracket on the back. We'll get to that in a little way. And the rest of this, you don't need any of these nuts. Alright, so these are all set up to the side. These are all tiny Phillips, so I don't need any of these Allen wrenches either. Those can go away. I forgot a couple of these screws. I'm going to be doing most of this from memory for the most part. It's actually not too hard, so we're going to get started with oh, that was the worst idea ever. The one screw that you have to pull out of here, I'm sorry, three, I should say, is you have these two right here, and then this one right here behind the HDMI port. You have to keep this screw. You're going to reuse that on the new plate. So don't misplace it where you put it. So what I'm going to do, actually just put it with all of these other screws. I'm going to put them with my other two right there, because we're using those on the back I/O panel. So for organization, keep them together. Might as well, right? Oh my god, this thing is so bulky. I don't think I need those two screws anymore or anything. Oops. Put those to the side. I'm going to try to keep all these screws. I'd like to say that I would like to reuse that again maybe someday if I want to sell it, but chances are if I sell them, I'm going to want to sell them with the Waterblock I'm about to put on anyways. Make a little extra, and what would I need them for if I get rid of it? So, alright, now we're going to do the fun part, and we're going to take this off of here. Let me just double check all the... Nope, I missed. You actually have to take this bracket off. I think... Do I? No, I don't. I can anyways. Never mind. Just kidding. Alright, the way you want to do this is by wiggling it back and forth to try to loosen. You don't want to rip it. I know when I did this, it popped off really hard, and it kind of scared me a little bit, because you never really know exactly how much pressure am I putting on here, how much am I not supposed to put on here. Big question marks. If you've never done this before, it can be kind of scary. Honestly, I don't like doing this. Alright, so also before you try to pull any of this off, let's try to get this thing off of here. What you want to do is kind of wiggle it back and forth. Don't do it here, you don't want to rip those things off. Oh, that was insanely easy. It really just fell off. And then now you get the fun part of, you have to disconnect this fan cable, so don't just rip it straight out. do it this way. This thing doesn't want to come out at all, and yet the whole connector just totally came out. Does it matter? I'll find out. There's plenty of room, so it's not like it matters, but this whole thing was not supposed to come off, I don't think. Alright, put this on a box. I'm going to need this box anyways. Yeah, that was not supposed to come out. That was not a good thing. It was stuck though, so it's not going to hurt anything at this point, but just know that part of this black connector is supposed to stay right there. Use that for the future. So, I'm going to toss this to the side somewhere. Right over here, right out that way. Alright, first thing we're going to do, I forgot these things fall apart, and yeah, these things are gross. They feel gross. Ew, oh, it's under my fingernail. So that's nasty. That stuff does not like to peel off. Alright, so first things first. Oh my god, I need to get this thing off here. What is this? Alright, so this is going to take off the shield. Here. Alright, I'm going to put that over here. Put the new one here, and see, this is the hole for over top of that HDMI. That's why you need to save that other screw you had, because it's going to fit right in there over top of that HDMI. I still have this stuff in my fingernails. Jesus. Sorry, you guys gotta watch me do this, but that's driving me nuts. So this stuff is secretly a pain in the ass. Oh, what, wait. Don't do that. This is one of those. It's so hard to separate these. They're so thin. Oh, I got it. Yeah. Alright. And these are just going to go right on these chips. Super perfect. Don't get mad at me for that one. It's a little off center. See if it'll let me shift it over a little bit. There good enough. Alright, let me... I'm going to pull all these things off. Just kidding. Because we have one more strip. This one's easy. This one goes down in here. Trying to remember the best way to do this. Which side is sticky? Dark blue is the sticky. So, anyways, I'm going to pull off. There's a reason for this. Normally I'd say cut it first, but oh God, come on, it's right there. Last time I did this, I cut it to size, and when you pull those strips off, that actually stretches it a little bit, so you end up having to cut it twice. I had some scissors. Alright, I'm back, and I have the scissors. So let me do this the good way I'm supposed to do this. That's not going to work. So when you do this, you have to make sure that you're clearing the hole here and the hole here, because if this is in the way when you try to screw into them, that might not work out for you. Something like that, and then I'm going to cut that. Doesn't have to be super perfect. I've seen people screw these up, not on this block itself, but in other GPU blocks. I've seen some horrible setups on those. Oops, that didn't work. Come on, mark, damn it. Let's know if I can see it. So all I'm doing, I was applying just enough pressure to leave a mark on this thing. Then you know exactly where you need to cut. And like I said, they do not need to be super perfect. Ew, what? Still find a piece of that old stuff sitting there. Alright. Alternatively, if you set that down right here, if you can get the width correct to push it down in here, you can actually just push straight down on these with the plastic things still on them. It'll leave an indentation on there, and you'll actually see exactly where you need to cut. But I didn't need to do that. So that's that, and before I put the thermal paste on here, I'm going to reattach. What was that? I'm going to drop something. I'm going to reattach the new I/O shield on the back here. Hopefully, oh man. Oh, wait. So if this goes. This bottom down, I need it like this, right? Yeah, I need it like that, but does this go on? Let's ask some weird questions and compare. It goes underneath, okay. That's all I needed to know. Those holes look like they're lining up. Alright, so these two screws that they're like I don't know, they have the biggest screw heads in the whole section of screws here. There's only 2 of them that are like this. They'll document it in the instruction manual. These are the ones you use for the 2 bracket pieces here, and then you have this single one here that you took from the original HDMI screw hole that you're going to reuse. That's actually also covered in the manual that you have to reuse that, so don't think you can get around doing that. They do not give you a screw that'll do that. I mean, if you drop it and you lose it, the worst that'll happen is there's no screw sitting for that one. Maybe that'll bother you, maybe it won't. Best to just leave it in there though. It's all just strength for the shield anyways, or for the I/O. Alright, now if I remember from last time, I could not tighten these all the way down until I made sure I had this in. Never mind. Just kidding. Last time it took me an hour to find a screw that I could get with this little small guy here. So I'll deal well with small screws. And by don't deal well, it means I drop them all the time. I got lucky this time. There's that. Tighten these all the way down. Yay. Those are all good. Screwed in. Alright, now we're gonna do the MX paste. And this should be star and cross. Yeah. So if you're looking, you have to look at it from this perspective when it makes more sense. But they want you to do a cross and then a plus symbol. So corner to corner and then a plus symbol. This stuff is a little messy, a little wide tubed, so I may or may not go through all of that. There we go, loosen up. This stuff likes to get stuck on here. Alright, so yeah, this is very open-ended, so I might not do a full plus. It also trails a little bit, so it makes a little bit different. I'm actually just going to dot on the in-betweens. This is going to look messy when I pull this off here. I kind of don't care. Oh, God, it's so messy. Just trying to break it off. There we go. The thing about this stuff that is different from most, like when you're applying thermal, sorry, not this, the difference between this as being a GPU is that as long as you keep this goo inside this whole like kind of big ass square, you're usually pretty good. You don't have to worry about overdoing it. That's why when you open these things, it's kind of gushed all over because they don't care. As long as it's not outside of that square, you're usually pretty fine. But chances of you getting all the way out of there is crazy. I've seen somebody totally smash a bunch of stuff in there just as a test thing, but we're going to move on that one. So, alright, let me see what I got here. It's what, 8 screws? Yeah. Alright, I'm going to try to line up a bunch of these holes. When you plot this down, oh yeah, money. Alright, so what I'm going to do, bring this up. Boom, look at that. Bam. And more or less all of these are lined up right. Let me check this diagram for this because it's not every single one of these holes gets one. I'm looking at it upside down. Let's look at it the way nature intended us to look at it. Just drop this in here because I cannot. For the life of me, I don't want to keep holding back and forth, so I'm going to set that there. And then let's see, what are we doing here? We're doing washers, right? Yep. Washers. Pick up. I'm terrible at picking up these plastic washers. That's that. Is that this? Yeah. Like this one. Oh, don't do that. Just to get the thread started. Don't actually. I was messing up on that one. Alright. Alright, what am I doing? Alright. Yeah, if you have a backplate, only do those 4 around the CPU. You do not need to do any of the other ones because the backplate will screw into those other 4 holes. As for me, I'm going to tighten this down. I'm going to finish this first part of this as if you're not doing the backplate. And then I will pull out the backplate and we will do that. Alright, so that is it. That is the end of the road for this. Normally this is where you pull this off. I'm going to wait until the whole thing's on. Don't need this anymore. Alright, so this is the lovely card. It is now in a water block. Set this down so you can look at it. Next, we have a back plate. I've already did an unboxing for this, and I don't even know why. It's that basic. But I don't know why I did that. I had everything out and I was recording all my unboxings, so I said, why not? I'll just do it. But that was really kind of silly. So, but this will actually go very super quick, actually. So, all you need from this is the washers, the thermal pad, obviously. So, we need 4 screws, the longest screws that are in here, which are the 2.5 times 7s, if I remember correctly. Again, if you cannot find your screws, check inside of your box. Let me see if I still have them. Just in case you missed my unboxing video, if you pull it out from one side, it looks like there's nothing else in here. There's a false bottom in here, so depending on which side you open it up, you might not have found the screws. So open both sides, find your screws. This plate, I actually threw the screws away because I didn't know. And I thought you had to use screws from the actual plate itself to get into the back plate. That being said, I used some screws. This comes with extra screws for everything. So I used 3 of the screws from this back plate that were extra, and I used one of these that's it's a 2.5 by 8, which actually is one of the leftovers from this. That just happens to be long enough you can use it. But I put that in the back so that when it's hooked in, it's going to be way far in the back. You won't be able to notice that it's a black screw and everything else is all this nickel. I really need to wipe this down before I install it. These nickel plated things are really nice, but they get fingerprints easily. But you're not supposed to be hands on with them all the time anyways. So let me get that out of the way here. Alright. So, this one. Yeah. I'm going to count out 8 washers. Maybe you could do 4. Whatever. I don't even remember if the instructions mentioned using the washers, but I'm going to use them because I have, on my other card, I had, see if it looks like it might happen again. Yeah, I had some contact here on these, right here, and then some of these solder points right here, these 6 for the power, where the power plug is soldered into the main board. Those points that stick up were actually touching on the backplate on the other one that I had, and then part of this, I think it was actually touching the metal right here on this chip here. So in order to combat that, I just used 2 washers. It worked totally fine. When it was touching, there were 0 washers. Until I got this stuff in the mail, I didn't have the other screws, the longer screws to use in here, so I couldn't put washers on that one until I got extras. But let's move on. So I got 4 of those, a bunch of those. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is this. It's going to go pretty quick because this is actually like the easiest part of this whole thing. More or less. Super quick. Let's try to speed run it here, huh? Try it sticky. Alright, so what you're going to do, put this here. This is going to rest right here. So it doesn't have to be perfect. This is all, anything you do on this is all just extra passive cooling that you get for the back side of it. It's not much. It's probably honestly only like a degree or 2, maybe, if you're lucky. But anything's better than nothing, right? Ooh, this one I forget. This one is special because there's actually a raised kind of surface right here that I think that almost exactly fits on. Yeah. Ooh, this one I have to cut short. Why is there a washer stuck on there? So this one we're gonna cut about right there. Alright, and we are almost done. This is super easy, told you. So these washers. Actually, I'm just gonna set those to the side. I'll deal with those later. So, easiest way to do this. About to show you. First thing you got to do though is take out these 4 screws. Yeah, more of this thermal paste. It is like everywhere. The old thermal stuff. This part is going to be super easy, and I'm going to show you exactly the easiest way to do this. Let's take this off. Put this down. This was... Let me just try something here. That should be... I think it's like directly flipped. So this is going to go on here just like this in like 2 seconds here. First thing we got to do. So we're going to take all these screws, right? Oop, I'm going to do this different. That was a stupid idea. Take all your screws, push them through. Right. Transfer. Boom. Screws are there. Add your washers. Again, 2 washers each. I don't know what the instructions say, but that's what I'm doing. And that's what I did on the last one. It was perfect. Because I don't care if these are touching, because it's just a back plate. It's getting water cooled, it doesn't matter. This is really just cosmetic. I'd rather peace of mind that none of the solder points are touching the back of this plate. This isn't like some of the NVIDIA cards where there's actually like a rubber piece on the back of them, which maybe would have been nice, but what can you do, you know? So here we go. I told you, super quick. We're gonna try this here. That was wrong. Wait. Right, now that's right. Yeah. Now we got this. So line up your holes as best you can. I think I just lined all of them good. So what you're going to do, grab the whole thing, transfer. Might have to do this in an odd way, I don't know. That. Let you see this thing in all its glory. If I can get this sticker off. Front side sticker. They just need to stop putting stickers on these things. It's kind of a hassle. My reservoir for EK had, oh no, I'm sorry. Was that my pump? I think it was my pump. It had like 2 of them on it or something. So this is the block with the back plate. Super fancy. They actually engraved that Radeon X or RX-480. That's super cool. Super cool. Let you take a better look at this if you can. In case there's weird glare, I'm gonna wiggle it down and around. So yeah, just checking all the points that I remember having problems with. Alright, so with 2 washers it looks like that middle square doesn't contact. If that's really like a thing you're worried about, you could go with 1 washer. I am getting a bunch of touching right there though. That's definitely touching a whole bunch of stuff. I don't know how much. 1 washer probably would have been okay, but peace of mind. I'd rather have that than circuitry touching in a weird place. But that is that. And now we're all done here. Gonna put these on display so you can take a look at them in the video, front, back. And that is it. If you have any questions about this installation, just comment about it down below. If you liked the video, like it. If you disliked it, dislike it. Subscribe for more videos.